Hello everybody, ciao a tutti and welcome to Art with Ms.B. Today is our fourth practice of 2024 and as a reminder we are working on patterns, we are reviewing basic elements and principle of art and we are working with positive affirmations. I think that there is nothing better that do like a mindful and self-reflective art practice combining together the art exercise and so the skills but also some work on ourselves. And this was my choice for my YouTube channel for the month of January and February. So today we're going to work on the positive affirmation. I am filled with focus. When we have a goal, when we set our mind onto something, the most difficult thing sometimes is to be consistent and keep the focus sharp and all the way there. Sometimes we can focus on something that is a personal matter or a professional matter. If you're a student, it could be something academic that you want to achieve. But in any case, we all need the focus. And sometimes we are so hyper stimulated by everything that is going on around us that is very difficult to find and maintain the focus. So today we're going to do a pattern that is a geometrical pattern, but I will do it freehand, so no ruler, because I don't want you and me to focus on the perfection of the lines. I just want to focus on the steps that are necessary in order to arrive and achieve the pattern that I have in mind for you. In doing this, I will repeat this affirmation and I will invite you to keep the focus. If you do not keep the focus, you won't be able to follow the steps and you won't be able to obtain the patterns that we want at the end. That is a little more complicated than other just because it's based on intersections and different lines that will cross each other. So for today practice, you need a mixed media paper, small piece of paper, but you decide your size. And if you don't have a mixed media paper, white paper, it's fine, and a pencil for drawing and extra fine Sharpies or any brand of marker that you have available. I will use the color black, but if you want to use one specific color that is particularly inspiring for you, just like blue or red or whatever, just go for it. Since I know that there are different followers and viewers, some of them are beginner and some more advanced and intermediate. If you're advanced and more like fluent in art skills, you can do the pattern directly with a Sharpie. In my demonstration, I will start the base with the pencil, so also the children and the young artists, so people who are kind of moving their first steps into the art practice will be able to do it. In case you need to erase, you will still be able to erase it and correct it, and then you will go on top of the pencil line with the Sharpie. But as I say, if you feel very confident, you can do directly with the Sharpie. I'm going to switch the camera so we can start and have fun together. And remember, you are filled with focus and purpose. Okay, friends, this is our piece of paper. You can use it in any direction. I will use it this way. I have like a pencil. If you feel confident that you can directly do it with a Sharpie, but in case something happen, you can erase the pencil while you cannot do that as a Sharpie. I'm not gonna do any ruler because I want you and myself as well to focus as much as possible on the quality of the line. And we remember and remind ourselves the affirmation, I am filled with focus. So we start with vertical line all across the paper, pointing the pencil and going slowly down. They don't have to be perfect, but they can be as straight as possible. You can try to trace them equidistant from one another. You can move the paper around. And we need to really, really stay as focused as possible in order to give ourselves the time to follow our hands on the paper and make sure that we try our best to trace a very good quality of lines. If you are a young artist or a beginner or a child, don't need to get upset if the line they're not perfect. The pattern is gonna work and you will stay committed to the practice. Now we're gonna turn our paper and we're gonna do the same. I personally work better in a diagonal, but you have to find your position of the paper in order to achieve the same quality of line just across the paper horizontally. If you need to pause the video and go slow, go slow. If you really feel the frustration and you want to use the ruler, use it. This practice is mostly focused on the process and the steps that we need to focalize in order to achieve the pattern that I have in mind for you. Now we have a grid and we are going to fill it with diagonal lines. For the diagonal lines, take the corner of the square in mind when you trace it. So try to go across. Very slow and as precise as possible in the corner. You see that is sometimes it won't happen, but it's perfectly fine. Here you really need to stay focused and move your hands slowly so you can find a way to follow the intersections of the lines that you're tracing with the corner of the square that you obtained with vertical and horizontal lines. It's very tricky for the eyes, which require even more focus. This is why I found that this pattern is perfect with the affirmation that we want to keep, and we want to keep the focus in what we are doing. Okay, let's now do the diagonal lines in the other side. You can move your paper and off you go. Same principle, you go slow and you try to touch and cross the corners of the square. Now the focus is even higher because we have so many lines in our paper that is very easy to be tricked. And we are doing it with our free hands. But even if you're using the ruler, you have to really focus. Because it's very easy to get our eyes tricked by the design and get a little confused. And this is such an important life lesson when we set our mind on something, a goal. We really need to keep our focus, which is one of the most difficult parts. Sometimes we are very focused at the beginning. This is at least what I noticed with myself and with my students. But unfortunately, sometimes the focus goes vanish very quickly. Now I'm gonna go the Sharpie on top, which is an important, nice exercise and also a moment of relief because now we just have to trace the lines that we already traced. So there is not the same stress that we had at the beginning, but still we need to stay focused because we need to make sure that we overlap, we outline every single lines without forgetting anything. So there is still focus, but there is a little less pressure because we're not creating the design anymore since we did it already at the beginning. Sometimes it happens that your Sharpie won't go exactly on top of your pencil lines. It's perfectly fine. Remember to find yourself in a comfortable position and be aware of how your body feels. If you're, sitting, if you feel comfortable enough. If you don't, you need to adjust the position and remember to breathe intentionally and deeply in and out from the nose. Keep your gaze on the paper, your eyes on the paper, mostly on your hand. Keep the focus. Now we go with the vertical lines. You can even adjust them instead to just go over if you think that you can do a better lines like I did for my first one, that I went not exactly on top of my pencil lines. You can use the ruler also for these steps, and it will give you a little like less stress if you want to say that way, but still you need to really keep the focus to point the ruler on the paper in a correct position. I personally like to do freehand exercises just because even if they're not geometrically perfect, for what I need them, they work perfectly and they give me that beautiful authenticity that you can have from handmade and traced line, when you don't use any tools except your hand, a pencil, or a marker. We keep it going. Don't forget any lines, so your pattern will be all set and completed. Now, for the second phase of the pattern, I'm gonna directly do it with the Sharpie. If you have a lot of differences in the lines with the pencil and the lines with the marker, you can grab an eraser and erase it already. If you don't really get disturbed by this not perfect overlapping, you can also erase it at the end. I'm gonna show you the way that it will look once we erase, and you can use any eraser that you have available. I like this one because they don't leave any crumbs, and so it's easy for me to clean. You don't have all the crumbs that you have with a pink eraser or white eraser. There we go. Once your lines with the pencil are all gone, and keep the focus so you can really tell that you don't see the pencil lines anymore. Now we are ready for phase 2. We are going to use and focus only on the triangle. You see that now we have many triangles, right? Every square is divided in 4 triangles. We're going to focus on the one on the top of each, and we're going to fill them with lines. This is a good repetition to set a nice, good pace for us to breathe in and out. You can go faster, you can go slower, you do you. I'm using black, but you can use one color. I would say one only. Let's not make things more complicated than they already are. And also don't get distracted too much about the colors, but focus on the pattern. And we keep it going. And we repeat with our inner voice or out loud, as I like to do, because I feel more powerful when I say things out loud. I am filled with focus. I work hard on myself to know what I like and what I really want. I set the goal and expectations, and I am filled with focus all the way through the process. I do not stop things in the middle. I finish what I start. So even if this pattern, you think, oh my, it's gonna be a lot of work, we commit with the practice and we finish what we started. This is an amazing practice for homeschooling parents. If you have like a child that struggle with commitment, with focus, with ADHD related issues or some anxiety issues, this is a fantastic way to let them embrace something that looks indeed complicated, but we saw just right now that it's just a matter of taking the right steps, following them all the way to the end with focus and concentration, and just stay there. Stay here with your hands, with your body, with your eyes, with your intention. You can put some music for your kids or for yourself if you're doing it. You can do it with someone. But remember, don't get yourself distracted and just keep the focus on the practice. You will feel refreshed and regenerated at the end, and you will feel also proud of the fact that you were able to stay within this practice for such a long time with so many different lines that they gave us so many shapes and feeling partially those shapes all the way with a repetitive and precise work. This is a beautiful activity to do, for example, when you are about to face an important interview for a new job, or maybe you are a student and you have to face a test, an SAT, something really important that you have been studying and preparing yourself for a long time, but you started to feel your mind a little tired, right, from the preparation. And sometimes, you cannot recall all the information that you put it in your brain. Maybe the day before, you should practice something like that and repeat it to yourself. I am filled with focus. And you kind of relax and switch activity from preparing yourself for whatever is the task that you have to face, and giving your mind the opportunity to reset, energize again, and feel itself with focus and mental sharpness. If you lose focus while you do something like this pattern, you will forget some lines, you will forget to erase the pencil, you will forget one of the direction that we uh, trace the line at the beginning. You will give up and won't complete the task. There are consequences that we pay every day when we lose our focus. And it's very common in our society because we tend to do more than one task at the same time, or we have to switch very quickly from one task to another, or we are just overwhelmed and overstimulated by so many inputs that sometimes it's really difficult to decide where do we want to set our mind on. I always say that you have to do you, so you can make adjustment and you can make your pattern in a different color. You can make it smaller if you're a young person, if you're a parent who is using a parent who is using my video for, you know, their children, you can decide to simplify, right, to filter. Sometimes if a practice become kind of overwhelming and you kind of started to feel a little frustration, a little discomfort, you have to respect yourself. But my advice is to try as much as possible to stay with me, stay with the practice, and complete the video. Because then you will feel accomplished. There is a little like steps toward that accomplishment and that life lesson that no matter what type of task we are facing, sometimes the things get uncomfortable, uneasy, right? But we stay, we don't quit, we keep the focus. We are filled with focus and we can finish what we start. I want to try now to go from the bigger line, the longest line, to the smallest. So this is also a nice trick when you think that you're about to give up because you've seen so many lines, so many, like you have to repeat the same things over and over. Just give it a little twist, which doesn't mean that you're quitting or you're leaving things halfway done, but you just give it a little twist so you introduce another feeling. And it could be like a change in a color that you're using, or like I did, a change in the direction, like in the point where I started the line. So it could be a change in the direction when you keep the paper. So you will trace the lines in a different directions, right? And you can place it like that and try this way, or you can place it the other side. So you can give it some, you can give some twist to this practice. Whatever you can do to keep your focus and concentration. And in doing this, you can also see what comes easier for you, what comes harder, what you can change, what you can adjust, what makes you feel more comfortable, and what part of the practice instead doesn't come easy. We're almost there. I am filled with focus, and I am determined to finish. My mind doesn't wander around, and if it does, I gently invite it to stay committed to this practice and to give me all the focus that I need to finish what I started. Don't forget to breathe in and out. Intentionally, deeply. Repeat with me one more time. I am filled with focus. Now we accomplish our task and we created this beautiful, beautiful pattern. If you want, you can also use a black, like a thicker black Sharpie, and fill the other part of the triangle in a different way. Let me see if we can do it actually together. If you have, oh my, I took the brown. This is not what I wanted. If you have a black Sharpie, a thicker one, or any brand that you have available, maybe you can use it to fill the bottom triangle that we have now, right, in each square that we created, and just fill it instead with a black, plain solid black, to create a beautiful, beautiful contrast. I'm gonna do just the one line, this one, just so you have an idea of the way that it will look, but then I'm going to close the video because I want to do my best to keep this practice between the 20 and 30 minutes in total, so they are accessible and easy for you to practice them once per week. If I make them too long or too many materials involved, I found out that people tend not to practice, and my goal is for you, of course, to subscribe and to watch my video, but also to really practice with me. So this is, as you can see, could be an option, and you can go all the way through your pattern. You don't have to do it right now. You can use the same pattern for another practice. I'm gonna switch the camera and say goodbye. Okay, friends, we are done with our pattern. As I told you, I just did one line with you, or with this black solid marker, but it's an idea that you can keep feeling this pattern more and more, and you can use it to repeat to yourself the positive affirmation that we have been working on today, which is I am filled with focus. You had to use a lot of focus to follow my step. Don't forget any line, the vertical first, the horizontal, the diagonal on one direction, diagonal in the other direction, and then so many tiny little lines. And it was, a lot of effort, right? I felt it in my hands, I felt it in my eyes. Sometimes I was about kind of not to, to give up, but as I told you, you can twist, you can change the direction of the paper, so you will automatically change the direction of the pencil. You can give the practice some twist, right, that will help you to still commit to it until the very end and keep your focus. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you, most of all, that you found it useful. Whatever you are dealing with, whatever is the path that you want to concentrate in this 2024, more professional or personal, the combination of both, or just, it is important that we do some self work and we show some self love. So I see you next week with another beautiful pattern and practice. We're going to use the colored pencil and we're going to work on another affirmation. Please consider to subscribe to my channel and help this community grow and become better and bigger. And I'm so very grateful for each one of you, and I wish you all the best, and I'll see you next week. Ciao a tutti!